NTA International News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo advises Nigerian entrepreneurs to take advantage of depreciation of the naira to scale up the economy. National Assembly reaffirms commitment to ensuring the success of the Amnesty program. Abuja High Court dismisses forgery case against Senate President and 3 others. Hello there, welcome to NTA International News with me, Nancy Godi Agunihu. One major advantage of the depreciation of the naira is that it provides the opportunity to export into the foreign markets, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is calling on Nigerian entrepreneurs to explore this advantage to aid the diversification program and to boost the economy. The Vice President at the exhibition of Made in Nigeria products at the ongoing 2016 Small and Medium Scale Enterprises Conference says government will do everything possible to remove what could stand as bottleneck to their objectives.
A framework bounded by timelines of what exactly the 2 countries would benefit from this collaboration. It's like we talk about 30, 40 years of cooperation, and then we don't have too much to show for it. I think we should move, we should walk our talk. Not just Germany, but in many other countries, they are doing a lot in the area of, helping us in the creative industry. However, they don't get the government involved. Do not liaise enough with the whole ministry.
The German ambassador to Nigeria said Nigeria has an unending role to play in adding value to German's culture by showcasing its rich themes at the forthcoming Berlin Festival in February 2017.
Discussed some, I would say, technical issues, which are very important to us. I mean, it concerns the excavation works at the University of Frankfurt.
In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Has struck out the forgery case brought against the Senate President Abubakar Bukola Saraki, his deputy Ike Ekweremadu, and 2 others by the federal government as a result of an application for withdrawal of the case by the prosecution counsel. Aliyu Umar Tukuru has details.
In the application by the prosecution counsel to withdraw the case, Presiding Judge Justice Yusuf Halilu struck out the charge and released the 4 defendants who have been standing trial since June for alleged forgery of Senate Standing Rule 2015 and criminal conspiracy. The prosecution counsel told the court that the government has respect for rule of law, therefore it is withdrawing the case because same matter is before a federal high court and that 2 courts of equal jurisdiction cannot preside on the same issue at the same time.
There is a possibility that there may be conflicting judgments. And this government, like the Attorney General instructed me, adheres to the rule of law and fairness.
I give very high marks to my friend Ali Umar, SAN, for his intelligence and courage in terminating these proceedings.
Some senators comment on the ruling.
This will create a harmonious working relationship between the Senate, the National Assembly, and indeed the federal government.
We want to assure Nigerians that just like we have started with the debate on the economy, we will continue to rededicate ourselves to making sure that we find very quick solutions to the present problem.
The presiding judge commended the prosecution for their courage and the defense for their cooperation. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
Senate President Bukola Saraki has reiterated the National Assembly's commitment to ensuring that the Amnesty program succeeds to safeguard the economic prosperity of the nation. He stated this at an investigative hearing on the activities of the Presidential Amnesty program. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ezumba reports.
The Amnesty program was set up in 2009 and targeted over 30,000 ex-militants with a view to providing them vocational skills that will equip them with sustainable livelihood. Senate President said that it appears that the objectives of the Amnesty program have been compromised.
6 years down the line, the amount of billions of money that's been spent have already met the target we set for ourselves. Have the conditions in the Niger Delta improved? Are there greater opportunities for the youth?
As we speak, restiveness has returned to the region. Our youths are back to the bricks. Some have returned back to the country without completing their training.
Group Chairman, Niger Delta Project Consortium, Professor Jasper Jumbo, commended the Senate President for the hearing, stressed that part of the violence in the region is perpetrated by those who are targeted to benefit from the Amnesty program, but are schemed out.
Niger Delta is supposed to be a model region in Nigeria in terms of socio-economic development.
I'm interested in ensuring stability in the whole of Niger Delta, ensuring that those that are captured in the program are adequately reintegrated back into the program.
Youths from various Niger Delta groups made contributions for peace and stability to reign. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
Also, the House of Representatives is to investigate the disbursement and management of 1% supervisory scheme charges by Nigeria Customs Service. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports that this was part of resolutions at Thursday's plenary.
The 1% comprehensive import supervisory scheme charges is one of the fees imposed on goods imported into Nigeria. Introduced in 1977, following the introduction of pre-shipment inspection, the money is expected to be remitted to the Central Bank of Nigeria. To ensure accountability of these funds over the years, the House has resolved to investigate its management as moved by Representative Jerry Alaboso from Imo State.
Nigerian Customs Services took over the services of these pre-shipment service providers. They took over and started doing their work. Now, what this motion seeks to know is, one, when the Nigerian officers and men of Nigerian Customs Service took over the services of these service providers, why is CBN not paying them as much as they were paying the service providers when they were there? Two, part of the volume of money which the Central Bank, Mr. Speaker, would have been directed to probably the improvements and motivation of the officers who are now operating part. That's the pre-arrival assessment report.
Because there are about 2-3 committees mentioned, I think it is better that an ad hoc committee is constituted because of the urgency of this matter to look into it.
The motion explains that the utilization of the fund for other miscellaneous disbursements without the approval of the National Assembly violates Section 80 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Onkwo, NTA News.
And still from the National Assembly, the House of Representatives Committee on Internally Displaced Persons and the Northeast has criticized the presidential initiative on Northeast Pine for spending over 458 million naira on projects it described as not having direct bearing on the plight of those concerned. The criticism came up when some officials of the presidential initiative appeared before the House Committee. Kenneth Nanim reports.
The hearing was to investigate allegations that funds and relief materials meant for the internally displaced persons are being diverted. Presentation by the Executive Secretary of the Presidential Initiative on Northeast, Omar Musa Gulani, indicates that the sum of 270 million naira has been expended for the removal of invasive plant species along river channels and simplified village irrigation scheme in Kamadugu Basin, Yobe State, while the sum of 188.685 million naira was spent for Nigerian refugees in the Republic of Cameroon.
The movement of the grass is to facilitate the establishment of irrigation scheme in these communities, and it is very necessary for food security. But it's not that we just remove grass for 2050, no.
The committee members expressed displeasure that nothing meaningful has been done in the humanitarian intervention program for the IDPs, despite a sum of 5 billion naira budgetary allocation for the project, requesting documents reflecting implementation framework on all contracts, transactions, beneficiaries, and deliverables. The committee regretted the non-appearance of the secretary to the government of the Federation, Bashir David Lawal, who would have given more explanations on how the funds were spent. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Wife of the President Hajiya Aisha Buhari has called on Nigerian students to shun all forms of vices and attach much importance to their educational pursuit. Hajiya Aisha Buhari made the call in a message to the inauguration of the new officials of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. Ayodeji Abdul Malik has details.
The wife of the president, Hajiya Aisha Buhari, represented by Pauline Talin, during the inauguration of the new leadership of NANS, says Nigerian students have a great role to play in nation building. She urges students to shun all forms of corrupt practices and support the government drive for the welfare of the citizenry.
All she expects from you is number one, to take your studies with all seriousness, because education is key, and without education, we, your parents, will not be where we are today.
Keynote speakers at the event charged the student body to unite towards achieving their goal of restoring dignity to the national body of the association.
We have a stronger and more progressive NANS that can drive the process of development. The struggle is ours to carry, and victory is of all.
The new president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Haruna Kadri, promised to protect the interests of Nigerian students at all times.
I am prepared to serve, and will do it with all my heart. The vision and manifestos of other schools were all tailored along this line.
The students are hopeful that the new leadership will live above board and move towards enhancing development of the nation. In Abuja, Ayodeji Abdul Malik, NTA News.
The federal government is not relenting on its commitment towards safely rescuing the abducted Chibok schoolgirls and reuniting them with their parents and community. The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Aisha Jumei Al-Hassan, gave this assurance while acknowledging the Young Persons of the Year 2015 and 2016 awards presented to parents of abducted Chibok schoolgirls by the leadership newspapers in Abuja. Chimdimandu BC reports.
Expressing appreciation for the awards presented to her by parents of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls, the minister said the gesture by leadership newspapers is an indication that the nation feels their pain and trauma.
I thank you also for your appreciating the efforts of this administration towards bringing back the girls alive and safe. I assure you that the government is not sleeping, is not resting until these girls, by the grace of God, are brought back to us alive.
Parents of the abducted girls announced the recent death of two of their counterparts. Total number of parents who have died is now 21.
One died as the result of sickness, but the recent one of last 2 weeks was killed by Boko Haram in Kufrumbula village when they launched an attack on.
The parents say the hope that their children will return alive is high, as some of them were recognized in the recently released video. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, has given the management of a furniture company a 7-day ultimatum to reinstate over 300 workers sacked recently for participating in an industrial action that was called by the NLC. The ultimatum comes as the NLC joined workers around the world to mark the 2016 World Day for Decent Work. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
End corporate greed is the theme for this year's celebration, which the Labour leader rode on to storm the work premises of the sacked workers in demand for justice.
Under the law, they have a right to demand for decent work. Under the law, they can participate in all activities of labor. Yes. Under the right, strike is legitimate.
He has given 7 days ultimatum. I will relay this one to them. I believe that within that 7 days, we will be able to get back to his office.
Serve me a termination of appointment.
Alukwe Anicestus is the chairman of the Workers' Union and also one of the sacked workers.
The company is a very good company. I must tell you about that. The maltreatment of all the workers is what we are kicking against. We want them to respect us and call the workers back.
Some of the workers believe that better days are ahead.
If you look at us, even those of us in the media, a lot of media houses are not paying their staff. A lot of media houses have reduced journalists to casual workers, to freelancers. This is a statement that we have all united here, and the NUJ is heavily represented here.
The administration is really talking much about the welfare of staff. And if welfare of the staff is being carried out, what else?
October 7 every year is designated World Day for Decent Work. In Abuja, Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
You're watching NTA International News live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We shall be back with more reports.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. So let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogeruola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thank you for staying with us. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Boboye Oyeyemi, has expressed confidence in full compliance by commercial vehicle operators with the provisions of the speed limit device by the end of the year. He said this while briefing newsmen on levels of compliance since enforcement came into effect on October the 1st, 2016. Dennis Adegunloye has more.
Despite the enforcement, the Corps Marshal of the FRSC is realistic that full compliance cannot be achieved overnight. He therefore speaks on what the Corps refers to as advisory enforcement, which involves a sustained sensitization campaign on the dangers of speeding, which he says accounts for 50% of road crashes.
The ultimate is that when we ask for our data, crash data by next year, you should be able to see improvement, reduction gradually to an acceptable level. It's not that crashes will be zero, but let's have a situation where you even have minor crashes that fatality, lives, zero, nobody died. That is the ultimate.
A week into the enforcement, compliance stands at about 5%, but this figure is expected to rise with 240 commands, 37 sector commands, and 203 units carrying out the exercise across the country. Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
As Nigeria grapples with the challenges posed by conflicts between cattle breeders and farmers, the success story of Ghana's policy, codenamed Operation Cow Leg, may just be the model to study for possible adoption to end the crisis. Joseph Orok reports on this and other developments as the Parliament ends its second ordinary session in Abuja.
The challenge posed by herdsmen and farmers resulting in the death of thousands of people is not just a Nigerian problem, but it's an experience by other African countries. For Ghana, the challenge is being tackled headlong with policies involving ambassadors of neighboring countries, the traditional institution, the communities as coordinated by Presidential Task Force, while zonal ranches are provided with basic facilities.
The herdsmen also accepted to abide by any rules that will apply so that they will have some kind of cordial relationship with the communities.
The ECOWAS Parliament resolved to field a parliamentary mission to Guinea-Bissau to support efforts of heads of states and governments in the application of the political accord recently concluded between stakeholders. The Parliament is also to field a fact-finding mission to Mali to identify the constraints in the effective application of the agreements on sovereignty on its national territory. This is a fallout of the reports of the Political Affairs, Peace, Security, legal and judicial affairs, human rights, protection of the child and other vulnerable groups, as adopted by the Parliament.
We've requested that ECOWAS should take care or take on board the situation, the geopolitical situation of Mali.
The Parliament noted the progress made in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Côte d'Ivoire, and urged member states to further strengthen bilateral and multilateral cooperation in the fight against terrorism and other forms of cross-border criminality. In the meantime, the second ordinary session of the Food Legislature has been rounded up. The parliaments will reconvene in January. Joseph Orok, NTA News.
The IMF has announced the extension of zero interest rates on all fund concessional facilities until 2018 to enable low-income countries like Nigeria to absorb shocks and avoid expensive borrowing options for development. Managing Director IMF Christine Lagarde stated this during a press conference at the ongoing IMF World Bank annual meeting in Washington, D.C. Finance and economy correspondent Cliff Ayozie reports.
With global GDP growth projected at 3.1% in 2016 and 3.4% in 2017, overall growth for sub-Saharan Africa is put at 1.6%. As a result, the International Monetary Fund says the fund will give attention to developing more technical assistance, build capacity, in addition to financing infrastructure. International Monetary Fund also advised nations must adopt a three-pronged comprehensive policies approach relating to synergy in monetary, fiscal, and structural reforms to drive growth.
Finance ministers can decide to reallocate spending within the same budget envelope toward productivity-enhancing areas. For instance, supporting research and development, financing infrastructure at a time when financing costs are so low.
For the World Bank, inequality is still too high. Nations must accelerate inclusive and sustainable growth to bridge the gap.
Our research shows that inequality is still far too high, both globally and within countries, constraining growth and breeding instability. We need to focus on growth and continue to reduce inequality.
The bank emphasized the need to foster greater resilience to global shocks and threats. Looking at the inherent contradictions in our world today and the comparative advantage of various nations, the World Bank and other development agencies believe that pooling resources together through international cooperation could lead to shared prosperity, and together we can end poverty. In Washington, D.C., Cliff Ayozie, NTA News.
Okay, now let's link up with Chukwunonso Nwabweze for the latest in the business world.
Thanks for joining us on this segment. We are starting with some cheering news for Nigerian farmers that the federal government has set in motion plans to establish a new financial institution for farmers. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audu Obe, says the initiative is part of the federal government's efforts aimed at addressing the numerous challenges of accessing loan facilities at the commercial banks by farmers.
And let's all participate in policy formulation and in interest rate regulation, so that we're not necessarily looking at profit in the bank, it's as profit in agriculture. Of course, the bank has to stay alive.
Moving on now, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel is to visit Mali, Niger, and Ethiopia next week to explore investment opportunities which her government hopes will stimulate economic development on the continent, as well as curb the influx of migrants to Europe. German Development Minister Gerd Müller says the country will be investing in the continent's energy sector, an area he believes an opportunity exists for a win-win partnership for Africa and German businesses. And trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed Friday on a negative note as the oil share index depreciated by minus 0.70%. Let's now take a look on how the market fared. That does it on this segment. I'm Chukwunonso Nwabweze.
Ichukunonso, as we move up to sports. Nigeria's Super Eagles vow to beat Zambia's Chipolo in Sunday's Battle of Ndola as Flamingos face daunting task against Korea DPR Saturday in FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup final group game. Ayodeji Makinde tells us more on Sports Update.
Nigeria's Super Eagles are confident of hitting the ground running with a win when they play Chipolo of Zambia Sunday in their first match of the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifying series in Ndola. 23 players and the technical crew are set to depart via a chartered flight from Abuja Saturday morning, with German tactician Gernot Rohr saying the condition of the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium's pitch would not be a barrier to Nigeria's success come Sunday.
We must be able to play well on the bad pitch.
After losing by a lone goal to Brazil and playing a goalless draw against England, Nigeria's Flamingos, who are bottom of the competitive Group C in the ongoing 2016 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Jordan, will aim to defeat group leaders Korea DPR when both teams meet in Saturday's final group game. Victory against the Asians will determine Flamingos' fate in the tournament, as the outcome of the Brazil and England tie will equally prove decisive for the group. In the Nigerian Communications Commission Tennis League, Team FCT continued their good run in Week 4 matches, beating hosts Team Kalotari 5-2 in Port Harcourt over 2 days. In one of the 7 matches of the tie, Rose Onoja of Team FCT lost the first set but recovered to beat Lolia Kienka of Team Kalotari 1-6, 6-love, 6-3. The NCC Tennis League is on a 21-day break to resume on October the 29th with matches in Lagos and Kaduna. With Sports Update, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
And the sports story wraps up the bulletin. We thank you for watching. Bye for now.